Pourquoi ça a démarré?
Je crois que c'est moi qui ai cliqué sur un bouton en fait.
Tous les participants sont en mode écoute seul.
Ah, désolé. Vachement. Voilà, déjà c'est mieux.
J'ai mon micro qui est ouvert aussi.
Comment est-ce que je peux... En fait, c'est mon micro qui parle. Mais je ne sais pas couper. J'ai coupé ça, le son. Et,
oui,
c'est le... Ah, maintenant c'est lui là qu'il faut que je coupe peut-être. Là. C'est mieux là? On n'entend plus?
On t'entend plus.
Ok, c'est bon. Sauvé. Bon, ça c'est fait. Bon, du coup, j'aurais pas lu.
Là, s'il y a des gens qui rentrent, ils vont au niveau direct. C'est pas grave parce qu'on voit que le truc, mais par contre, s'il y a des gens. Oui, on entend du
En même temps, on coupe le son et puis on. Hein. Le partage d'écran est en pause. Mais non, moi je le vois. Et du coup, c'est moi que t'as bien administrateur.
Non, t'es organisateur, là, présentateur, c'est Johanna.
Ok.
Par contre, là, du coup, ça enregistre déjà, hein, en plus aussi.
Ah bon? Mais si, je peux arrêter l'enregistrement.
Non, mais là, tu as, oui.
Donc là, j'ai arrêté l'enregistrement. Je peux recliquer dessus pour... Ah non, moi, je ne l'ai pas arrêté.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the SPACE2IDGO webinar for SMEs. My name is Joanna Emery. I work at Aerospace Valley and I'm managing the SPACE2IDGO project alongside my colleague, so Aude Zendong, who I'm joined with here today. She'll be here helping out with the questions and treating the different questions that you may have. So we also have on board with us a key SPACE2IDGO supporting partner, Guillaume Jean, who works for the PwC Accelerator in Paris. So Guillaume is the SPACE2IDGO program manager at the PwC Accelerator, and he'll be the key point of contact for SMEs on this program. So Guillaume, he'll be presenting the SME service offer a little later in the presentation, and he'll be on hand to answer your questions as well. So the objectives of today's webinar are twofold. Firstly, we're going to give participants an overview of the project and the internationalisation programme for SMEs. And secondly, we're going to provide the key information you need on how you can join the programme and what the conditions are for entry. So before we start, a couple of rules. The webinar will be recorded and made available after this event, so you'll be able to find it on the ECCP European platform. We'll send you information regarding that. As you can see, you don't have access to the voice recognition on this tool, but you can ask questions via the chat tool. So that's on the right-hand side of your screen. It should be the question mark icon. And Aude will be making note of your questions, and we'll be able to answer all of those at the end of the webinar. So following up from the webinar, you'll be able to contact us directly. We'll provide the contact details at the end. Okay. So SPACE2IDGO is a 24-month project which has been led by Aerospace Valley and co-funded then by the COSME programme of the European Union. So this specific programme has the objective of supporting the internationalisation of European SMEs beyond Europe. So SPACE2IDGO, what we look to do is to be the very first structured action for space service providers and application developers to directly address economic potential of downstream markets, or markets with a clear market pull. So we can see that successful space-based applications have been created by European SMEs. There's a plethora of good examples of best practices, but we can also see that the European market itself, it's not rewarding enough to transform European enterprises then into global players. So European space clusters strongly believe that it's an important growth potential, is actually in downstream market diversification and in the creation of new value chains. So moreover, the products that will stem from this diversification are particularly adapted to countries in which the ground infrastructure is not developed enough to allow services to be provided in traditional ways. So therefore, the capability for the European space industry to grow is based on their capability to export. So that's really the main message then that we have. SMEs understand the importance of trading overseas beyond Europe. SMEs are wanting to explore new, more profitable markets to promote their high quality products. And they must be helped and given access to new markets. We need to help SMEs find the right partners and find ways of starting new collaborations for growth. So this is basically what SPACE2IDGO provides as an answer. We're going to provide a consolidated international support to make SMEs gain knowledge, access business opportunities, and find a way to accelerate their international deployment. So the project itself, SPACE2IDGO, is a cluster collaboration project. Its objective is to export European space-based innovation into third countries beyond Europe. The main ambition of the project is to implement the joint internationalization strategy plan that's been put in place by the partners of this project, and to take both clusters and European SMEs into 5 top priority countries. So those countries are China, United Arab Emirates, Canada, Colombia, and Chile. So to reach this ambition, SPACE2IDGO Clusters proposes a fast track to internationalization service. First of all, we're going to begin with a call for SMEs, which will start the process to select the interested SMEs. Those SMEs will then have access to a personalized diagnosis, and this will help them to analyze their gaps and their needs to properly go international. Clusters, in parallel to this, will also be taking part in cluster missions prior to SME missions to these different countries, and they'll have the role of collecting contacts, finding key information, and preparing for the cluster missions, for the SME missions a couple of months later. So for the SMEs that access this program, the selected SMEs will be trained through different workshops, specifically on export and on their chosen target markets. They'll then take part in a matchmaking mission, which will take them abroad and help them to foster the emergence of business links. And finally, these SMEs will access follow-up services. And these will provide services such as support for writing business agreements, for perhaps putting in place memorandums of understanding. And also SMEs will have access to strategic recommendations on their strategy and what they should look to do in the future. So this is something that will be presented in more detail a little later by a PwC accelerator. So who is behind this project? So SPACE2IDGO is carried out by 9 European clusters, and they're working hand in hand with PwC's accelerator to provide a comprehensive and efficient international service. So amongst these 9 European clusters, 5 are active in the space industry, 4 are active in the downstream market sectors, and Aerospace Valley then, which is active in both. So Aerospace Valley is basically the project manager, the project coordinator. It's a space and an aeronautics cluster. It's based in southwest France, and it also has a strong mobility sector diversification. Coralia then is a multi-cluster initiative which is based in Greece. Two of its three clusters, which are dedicated to space and creative industries, are involved in the SPACE2IDGO project. We also have on board Skywin Wallonia, which is a Belgium-based aerospace cluster, and they work closely with our other partner, Logistics in Wallonia, which is a reference cluster then to innovation for logistics and mobility in the Wallonia region. We also have two Italian partners on board, TERN, which is the Italian technological cluster for Basilica region, and they specialize in the field of Earth observation data. We also have Alcia in the Basilica region, which they themselves are specialized in the agri-food system and bioeconomy. So really the agricultural sector. And the two final partners then are the Spanish partners. We have the Madrid Aerospace Cluster and the Basque Energy Cluster then, which has a strong presence also in Latin America. So as well as bringing together these clusters, SPACE2IDGO has also teamed up with PwC's accelerator. So this is the prestigious PricewaterhouseCoopers professional services firm, which specifically provides internationalization services to SMEs. And these two, so SPACE2IDGO clusters and PwC together, will be able to give you access then to an extensive network of international offices and contacts in your chosen markets and countries. The sectors then that have been chosen actually go back to the first phase of the SPACE2ID project. A first phase was undertaken in 2016 to capture market insight and also to put in place an international strategy. It also put in place different workshops, and based on these findings, these 5 industries or 5 sectors have been chosen as being the most prominent for downstream sector diversification. So mobility, energy, logistics, creative industries, and agriculture. And I'm just going to go back to this slide and say that based on these different sectors, a strategy was established to enter the 5 priority markets with various actions. So in China, we're going to be looking at the mobility, logistics, and creative industries. In United Arab Emirates, we're going to be targeting the mobility, logistics, and agricultural sector. In Canada, it's mobility, logistics, and energy. And in both Colombia and Chile, we're going to be looking at the energy and agricultural sectors. So these are the sectors where it's been deemed that there is the most potential for downstream space applications. So very briefly then, the high-level objectives of this project. We're going to propose an innovative support network towards SMEs willing to go international. We're looking to diffuse the added value of space data in the identified downstream value chains. And we're going to develop business between European SMEs and new partners and customers internationally. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Guillaume, he's going to present to you the Fast Track Internationalization Service Package.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Guillaume Jean from PwC. I'm member of the PwC Accelerator and Program Manager of the SPACE2IDGO program on the PwC side. I will share with you first some information on the PwC Accelerator and then explain what services we will bring to the SPACE2IDGO program. Do not hesitate if you have any question to ask your question on the chat, and we will answer later or during the presentation. Regarding the PwC Accelerator, it's a global network dedicated to the acceleration of SMEs. This global structure within PwC has been created 8 years ago after the successful acceleration of Skype, a fast-growing company at the time, which came to PwC to internationalize its business and accelerate its growth in Europe. Based on this success, we have then co-developed an acceleration program with startup and scale-ups based on 8 key acceleration dimensions. I will present you this key acceleration dimension later. The key differentiator of our program is the internationalization of the SMEs through the network of PwC offices and professionals all over the world. For example, we help SMEs to define their go-to-market strategy, their internationalization strategy, their business development activities, thanks to specific access to our local clients and partners. And we will bring these capabilities to the benefits of SPACE2IDGO SMEs for the 5 targeted countries: China, Colombia, Chile, Canada, and UAE. Regarding the program, we will bring a full service package divided into 3 main steps. The first step is internationalization preparation, where we will work with SMEs in the preparation of the field missions. The second step is the field mission in the 5 targeted countries. And the third step is the field mission follow-up and specialized consultancy services. Could we move to the next slide, please, Joanna? To present you more detail about the step, as I say, the first step is the internationalization preparation. We will start with a specific full assessment of all SMEs in order to define for each SMEs the maturity over the 8 key dimensions. Based on the result of this assessment, we will define the support needed during the program, and we will define the support during a kickoff meeting with each SMEs. Then 2 online internationalization workshops will be held to share basic knowledge about how to build an internationalization strategy and to prepare the future field missions. Then we will hold country-specific workshop with PwC Accelerator team from targeted countries to prepare field mission by, for example, explaining key characteristics of the countries, how to do business in the countries, what are the key elements in terms of culture, in terms of market trends, etc., to be considered by the SMEs for the MELCA sector considered in the targeted countries. The second step is the field mission in each of the 5 targeted countries, and for each of the targeted countries, we will identify with you, with the SMEs, 2 key targeted business contracts, and then we will organize meetings with this targeted business contract during the field mission. After the field mission, the third step is field mission follow-up, and in parallel of the 2 first steps, specialized consultancy services. We will especially focus our support toward business agreement signature. We will also help you in your acceleration through 2 to 5 hours of specialized consultancy services. For example, you will have the possibility to spend 1 hour with a legal expert to review a MOU, for example, another meeting with a MELCA expert to discuss market opportunities, etc., etc. And at the end of the program, we will perform again the full assessment to identify your maturity evolution between the beginning of the program and the end of the program. Next slide, please, Joanna. In this slide, you can see our 8 key acceleration dimensions that we have defining with the startup and scale-up that belong to the PwC Accelerator. These dimensions are international, commercial development, financing, human capital, innovation, organization and exploitation, business model, and leadership. At the end of the initial assessment, and thanks to these key dimensions, we will define a specific acceleration program with you, and we will, for example, work with you when, for example, SME go to international. They often need legal support, and this legal support can be included in the consultancy services that we will offer to the SMEs. And the next slide, please, Joanna, is just to give you an idea of the SMEs that work with our acceleration teams. I spoke before about Skype, which is the first SMEs that joined the PwC Accelerator. But we are also working with other fast-growing SMEs, such as Delair, which is a B2B UAV startup based in Toulouse and also since 1 year in the US. Also with Miracle, which is a marketplace startup, SpeechMe, etc., etc. Just to give you an overview of the SMEs that work with our acceleration teams. Do you have any question? Maybe Joanna, Odd, on the chat.
Okay, thank you, Guillaume, for that. I think we'll do all questions at the end, and we'll proceed to the next bit. Thank you very much. So just an overview then of the calendar for the preparation services. In terms of timing, we're going to be having the kickoff meeting and the 360 diagnosis, which will begin in November 2018, sorry, should be March 18. In December 2018, we'll be beginning the workshops. So firstly, how to convert market intelligence into business opportunities. And a second one then on how to develop a successful export strategy. Prior to all missions, all of the target country training sessions will also be taking place. So we'll be able to adapt that to your chosen target market. In terms of the missions, so for Canada, Canada, UAE and Colombia will be taking place in spring 2019, Chile in summer 2019, and China in the fall of 2019. So the program itself, with the all of the support, will be finished for the end of 2019, which is when the overall project finishes. In terms then of the deadline for the call for SMEs, it's September 28th. So in order to get on board the SPACE2IDGO program, businesses will be required to pay the access fee of 3,700 to the SPACE2IDGO coordinator. So that's paid directly to Aerospace Valley. And through that, then SMEs will be able to benefit from the full service package. So that includes the preparation services, the matchmaking missions in up to 2 of the target countries, and the tailored follow-up services also. So in terms of eligibility, or the application process, sorry, the types of questions that are asked in the application form, I'm not sure if the SMEs have seen it yet. Firstly, we needed just to get an overview really of the SME activity. We want to understand your existing export and internationalization activity, if there's any sort of potential constraints, and what your future plans are. We want to learn more about the types of clients and any competitors that you may have. And these are just sort of ways for us to understand exactly what the program can bring to you, so that we can set up ready for the kickoff meetings. We'd also like to identify if the firm has sort of sufficient liquidity, and if it's able to cover its medium and long-term commitments and profitability. In terms of innovation, we'd like to understand the level of development, the product differentiation, and any of the IP that you may have. In terms of human capital and talent, we'd just like to see as well who within your business will be involved in the project, and who looks to be recruited in the years to come, the types of profiles. There's a quick couple of questions about your business and production capabilities. And in terms of the business model as well, what is your revenue model? And a brief overview then of a business plan that you have for your business. And the last question then within the application form, it's your participation in the program. Why would you like to get on board SPACE2IDGO? So which countries and which markets are you interested in targeting? And what's your current level of knowledge as well of these markets, just so that we can then adapt the support and the service to you. So in terms of eligibility, it's a program that's open to SMEs, as it's found under the EU definition. It must be an SME then that's either a space service provider or an application developer, and that has one of its activities or its markets in the sectors that have been previously mentioned. So in mobility, energy, logistics, creative industries, and agriculture. Alternatively, it may be that you currently work in one of these above sectors, and you're looking, in fact, to diversify and use space-based technologies or data within your service. So it's really an either-or definition of the type of SME. So the working language of the project is English. You must be proficient in English to be able to take that. And we said then that consultancy firms and professional service providers won't be eligible. We're quite strict on the SME definition. So you'll find the online application form in all of our marketing tools, but we'll also do a follow-up email following this webinar, so that you have all of the information that you need to go through that. And myself, Aude, and Guillaume will be available also for any questions that you may have with regards to the application process. So closing remarks really about the summary of the types of SMEs that we're looking for. So if you're an innovative European SME, if you're specializing in the mobility, energy, logistics, creative industries, or agricultural sector, and you're looking to diversify from this sector into the space-based technologies or data sectors, then you really are target market. If you also demonstrate a strong scalable business case, if you've got quantifiable market traction, and you've already got good sort of client base, and you've got a strong potential to go international, those are some of the criteria that we take into account. And if your ambition then is to go into one of the 5 country markets, so Canada, UAE, China, Colombia, and Chile, we can help you identify opportunities, find the right customers and partners, and look to help you develop sustainable collaboration and business deals there. So that's really the closing remarks, I think, for this webinar. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague Aude, who's ready to take questions.
Yes, thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Guillaume. We have also got some questions during this webinar, so maybe we will begin with thoughts about PwC to Guillaume. So Guillaume, the first question is about the Melka expert you talk about during the webinar. Can you precise a little bit more? Is there some people from PwC or other?
Yes, of course. The Melka experts I talk about during the presentation are people from PwC that are based in the targeted countries. So, for example, we have people in China specialized in creative industry. We have people in Canada specialized in transport and logistics, etc., etc. So the people, the experts that will be involved belong to PwC.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question, it's about also the different experts you can have. Do you have any reference coming from space industry? Because there was not really on your slide about the reference.
Yeah. I cannot. We are currently working with 3 SMEs that are space apps startup. But unfortunately, I cannot give the name of this startup for contractual obligation. But we have also a reference in terms of acceleration of space SMEs. And we have also people that are working with the big companies such as Airbus, Thales, etc., but also with the European Commission, with the European Space Agency, etc., etc. So the key element regarding the PwC team that will bring support to the SMEs is a combination of people from the space sector, from PwC space team, and also people specialized in the Melka sector. So we have a big team composed of people that have a space experience, and in the other side, Melka experience.
Okay, thank you. A last question about this program. Imagine if there is any company that have already some contacts and maybe some clients in one of these countries. Do you think? What do you think this program can bring in addition? Do you think it's a good idea for such a company to apply, or what is your opinion about this point?
I think that if SMEs has already contact within the targeted countries, it could be also a good idea for the companies because we can identify other potential clients, for example, and we can help the SMEs to reach the good people, the good person within the companies in order to start a potential collaboration. So I think it's not it's a good idea for SMEs that has already contact to join also the program.
Okay, thank you. And we hope that this webinar, and of course people can already ask us after to have a direct conversation. If someone is wondering if there is any interest, we are open to discuss a little bit more by email or by a short call to explain each case, because each case is really specific. There is a question more general about the it's about PwC accelerator. I'm not sure it's really the question. The question is about, is the PwC accelerator funded by SPACE2IDGO program? Maybe there is a little mistake about this. PwC accelerator is a company that is working by itself, and they will work as part of the SPACE2IDGO program. So to answer only about the SPACE2IDGO program, it is funded by European Commission at 75%. The different clusters that you have seen at the beginning of the presentation are also participating for a part on their own resources, and so that's why also we are asking some support, also some financial support from the SMEs that will come of
3,700 euros.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Joe. So that's it. I think I have asked the question and answered the question. There is another question about one company that is interested in a country that, Joanna, you said that it is in the year 2 at the end of 2019. Should this company apply now, or should they wait? Is it easy question?
Effectively, the application process is for now for all of the missions, and the benefits to this is basically that you'll be having access to the preparation services. You'll also have the consultancy services with PwC prior to the mission, and you'll be able to take part then in the mission in 2019. So the answer is that all SMEs should apply now, never mind which mission it's for. The application is for now.
Yeah. That was the last question, so I just have a look. Yes, it's okay. It was the last question, so I think we can close. It's okay?
I think so.
Yes, thank you all for being there. Thank you, Guillaume and Joanna, for the presentation. As we said at the beginning, this presentation has been registered, so we will you can access to this webinar again if you want, and of course you can also ask any question you want after by email or on the website. Thank you again for being there, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.